Let me start this video off by saying this. I love the Super Mario 3D franchise, and while I've only played these games on Switch, I've had a wonderful time playing them. From 64's satisfying movement, Sunshine's secret levels, and Galaxy's wonderfully creative level design, Mario is an incredible franchise. So when I got to Mario Odyssey, I was expecting it to capture me the same way these games did, but it didn't. What I got was something that was just about hit the marks for a Mario game, but nothing that took it further. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a fun game, but that's all that it is. But before we get into Odyssey, I want to go over the previous Mario games so that we have some context. And if you have a different opinion, I would love to hear about it in the comments. Now let's get into the video. Super Mario 64 came out in 1996 and completely revolutionized gaming, being the first 3D platformer to act as an open world game. Previously, Mario games were 2D with levels having a definitive start and end. With 64, however, it gives the player freedom of exploration. You're able to control Mario and move around these levels freely. And if we're talking about movement, Mario 64 is the cream of the crop. From long jumps to the dive and to the somersault, every single movement you make feels so satisfying. And you're able to make these movements in levels that feel massive. The levels, while not as creative as what was to follow, were still so unique. And it wasn't just within the levels, it's getting into it. You see, to get into a level you have to jump into a painting, but with some of these levels, the way you enter them could affect the level. For example, in Wet Dry World, depending on how high or low you enter the painting, the water will match it. If you enter the painting near the top, the water would rise near the top. And same with the middle and lower areas. Also with Big Little World, depending on which painting you enter, you can either be a giant or normal size, and both have their own stars. This game changed the landscape of video games and pushed the boundaries of what a video game could be, and it still holds up today. Sunshine is quite a controversial game for Mario fans, and it's not hard to see why. It's definitely the most forgettable Mario game, but even with that, the secret levels without the FLUDD are really incredible, and are most definitely a highlight in the 3D Super Mario universe. However, it does have the most forgettable gameplay and storyline, and those goddamn unskippable and boring cutscenes. Just let me play! This was the very first Super Mario game I ever played. Around 10-11 years ago, I would play this game to no end on the Wii, and I remember loving it. And a whole decade later, I still love it. It's absolutely one of my favorite games of all time. While this game plays as a more linear game than the previous two, its level design is absolutely next level. In fact, the Melty Molten Galaxy is probably my favorite Super Mario level of all time. It's aesthetically beautiful, and the mini areas are fun but challenging. For example, the lava spire requires quick and sharp movements to climb the tower while it's sinking, and the moment you reach the summit is one of my favorite moments in the game, however small it may seem. Also, this game's use of gravity is probably the most interesting and enjoyable than any other game that I've played at least. Not only this, but the Bowser fights are my absolute favourite in the series. The way the final fight plays out is absolutely brilliant and an absolute pleasure to watch. Even the ones with Bowser Jr. keep you on your toes and force you to use unique functions of the game to defeat him. One thing I will say is that it feels infinitely better on the Wii than the Switch, but that's probably to be expected. And finally, onto Super Mario Odyssey. I want to start out with the positives and then get onto the negatives, so here we go. This is an incredibly fun game. The movement is nice and slick, and the jumps involving Cappy are incredibly fun and fulfilling when you pull them off. The addition of Cappy is honestly one of the best additions ever to a Mario game. Whenever you pull off something that seems so impossible, only to find out that Cappy was the one who could get you there is an incredible feeling. Along with the slick movement, the aesthetic of the kingdoms are beautiful. Mushroom Kingdom is beautiful, Cap Kingdom is beautifully creepy, and Luncheon Kingdom is one of the best areas in any Mario game. Now onto the reason why I made this video. Super Mario Odyssey just isn't creative enough. I know, I can hear the pitchfork mobs already, but let me explain. Firstly, the names of this area. I mean, this may seem as a nitpick, but let's see if we can see some similarities between these. Mushroom Kingdom, Cap Kingdom, Cascade Kingdom, Seaside Kingdom, Ruin Kingdom. I think you get the point. It's not even creative enough to come up with actual names for these places like 64 or Sunshine, or even come up with clever alliterations for these areas like Galaxy did. They just found one-word descriptions that vaguely describe these places and slapped the word kingdom next to it. And speaking of these kingdoms, almost all of them are deceptively small. Take Cascade Kingdom for example, an area that's shown to be this big, beautiful, massive green area. It's really just plain small. And sometimes it's not even deceptively small, it's just tiny. Like Lake Kingdom is probably one of the most underwhelming areas in any Super Mario game. And Seaside Kingdom and Snow Kingdom are insultingly small. For a title that's known for its incredible creativity and world building, most of the worlds just seem like throwaways. Let's take a look at Hazy Maze Cave from Super Mario 64 for example. For an area that can seem so cramped, it certainly rewards exploration. I mean, this place seems so small, but with further exploration, this area is huge, especially for a game in the 90s. And don't even get me started on Ruined Kingdom. It's easily the coolest looking area in the game and it's only used for a boss battle. For a game as prestigious as some of the Mario games, a lot of the Odyssey Kingdoms just don't live up to the expectations. The most glaring problem for this game, for me, are the moons. While the previous Super Mario games stuck to a modest 120 stars, Odyssey blew that out of the water with there being 880 unique moons and 999 if you buy from in-game shops. Of course, it only takes around 120 moves to complete the game, but if you complete the game, it encourages you to keep playing, adding more moons and teasing more content. And with that volume of moons, there are bound to be some fillers, but my god, there is a lot. And some of it's not even filler I could consider kind of fun, it's just tedious. Take the Shepherd Moon for example. It was cool the first time, but having to do it 4 different times throughout the game just becomes plain annoying. And don't even get me started on the Nut Moons in Watered Kingdom. 11 of the same moons just in hiding spots. And they just feel cheap. 1 or 2 I can get, but having this amount of the same moon is just plain lazy in my book. While there's more content in Super Mario Odyssey, it just doesn't have the same effect as the previous Mario games. And that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and don't walk away from this thinking I hate Odyssey. In fact, I think it's great. I just don't believe it matches to the standards of games like Super Mario 64 and Super Mario Galaxy, which might be unfair because those games are some of the greatest of all time. Anyways, I'm really enjoying making these gaming videos, and if you're enjoying them, give this video a like and subscribe. It's free and you can undo it at any time. Thanks for watching, see ya.